Hi guys, let us discuss how Savarkar was as a poet. Now, full disclaimer, what I'm going to read out is not a piece written by me. I'm going to read out to you an article written by author Vikrant Pande in Swarajya back in March 2015. And it's called Savarkar, the Unsung Poet. And I'll put the link in the description, link to this article. Why I'm reading this out to you? Because a lot of you don't like to read anything, read books or articles, because you think it takes up too much of your time, or maybe because you have an attention problem. I used to have this as well. So you all just like to listen to things on YouTube casually in passing. That's why I'll read out this thing to you, because it's a brilliantly researched and well-written article. So here goes. Most Indians know Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, popularly known as Veer Savarkar, as a freedom fighter who is often demonized for his supposed involvement in the assassination of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The Indian government, after independence, deliberately ignored him and did not honor him as should have been his due. As an American author said, "Sometimes your light shines so bright that it blinds people from seeing who you really are." It is unfortunate that very few knew that Savarkar was a poet, novelist, writer of short stories, playwright, historian, and a champion of purification of language. Savarkar's poetry is a lasting legacy, which is known to almost each Maharashtrian. As Allen Ginsberg says, poetry is not an expression of the party line, it's that time of the night, lying in bed, thinking what you really think, making the private world public. That's what the poet does. And that is what makes Savarkar's poems so timeless. They speak the language of the heart. Savarkar composed his first poem, Swadeshi Chapatka, it's a Marathi name, Swadeshi Chapatka, at the tender age of 11, and continued writing in school and as a student in London. Some of his best works were written when he was in the cellular jail in the Andamans. The torture and the treatment meted out to the political prisoners, there is a story for some other day. The cruel jailer David Barry's actions would make one wonder how someone could have conceived such ingenious ways of torture. Savarkar wrote many books like Joseph Mazzini, biography of an Italian revolutionary, 1857 Che Swatantra Samar, the first independent struggle of India of 1857, Shikhancha Itihas, history of the Sikhs, Mazi Janmatep, a narration of his jail term in the Andamans, Sannyas Kharga, a play, Kale Pani, Black Water, Mala Ke Teache, What Is It to Me, Hindutva, Who is a Hindu, and Gomantak. Savarkar's three plays, Ushap, Sannyasta Kharga, and Uttar Kriya, are notable for their dialogues and dramatic content. Savarkar wrote three books on history: The Indian War of Independence 1857, Hindu Padshaahi, and Six Glorious Epochs. These books reveal his deep study of and insight into history, penchant for detail and inspirational but well-researched content. Savarkar has many firsts to his credit as far as Marathi literature goes. He was the first to compose pawaras or ballads in modern times and was the first to use modern imagery in the pawaras. He was the first Marathi journalist to contribute newsletters to Marathi periodicals Londonchi Batmi Patre, newsletters from London, from foreign countries. His Tarakas Pahun, Gazing at the Stars, is the first Marathi poem composed outside Indian shores. His Joseph Mazzini is the first Marathi book written outside India. One of Savarkar's songs, known to almost all Maharashtrians, is Sagar Prantala Mala, My Heart is Tormented, O Ocean, written after his close associate Madanlal Dhingra was sent to the gallows in London. The British police were keenly shadowing Savarkar, aware of his friendship with Dhingra. Dhingra's martyrdom and the subsequent repression by British authorities took its toll on Savarkar's health. He went to Brighton, around 50 miles south of London, to recuperate his health and remained there for 10 to 12 days. His associate Niranjan Pal would visit him to give him moral support. The two would frequently walk on the shores of Brighton. On one such occasion, both of them were sitting on the seashore surrounded by dozens of mirthful Englishmen and women. In the midst of his mirth, Savarkar was immensely sad. Sitting in front of the vast ocean, his mind was grieving at the thought of his beloved motherland. Pal described that momentous occasion 29 years later in an article, Reminiscences of Savarkar, dated 27th May 1938, in the Maratha, Pune. Pal wrote, "Presently he, Savarkar, commenced to hum a song. He sang as he composed. It was a Marathi song describing the pitiable serfdom of India. Forgetful of all else, Savarkar went on singing. Presently, tears began to roll down his cheeks. His voice became choked. The song remained unfinished. Savarkar began to weep like a child." The song, immortalized by Hridaynath Mangeshkar's lovely music and sung by the entire Mangeshkar family, Lata, Asha, Usha, Meena, Hridaynath. This song turns the listener emotional every time. Dennis Gabbard, Nobel laureate and scientist, said, "Poetry is plucking at the heartstrings and making music with them." Savarkar's poetry, coming from the depths of his tormented soul, purified by the fire of patriotism and tortured in the cells of cellular jail, had no option but to touch anyone who reads it even today, decades after the events have passed. It is the sheer intensity of the words that wouldn't allow one to hum them without being affected. Here are a few stanzas from Sagara. "O ocean, take me back to my motherland. My soul is tormented. I had always seen you, washing the feet of my motherland. You led me to a different country, to experience the diversity of nature there, knowing that my mother's heart was full of anguish. You promised her that you would take me back. I was reassured. I believed that my experience of the world would help me to serve her better. Saying that I would return soon, I took leave of her. O ocean, I am now pining for my motherland. Like a doe caught in a snare, the promise you made was deceptive. I cannot suffer the separation anymore. Darkness envelops me everywhere. I had accumulated flowers of virtues in the hope that my mother will be rendered fragrant with their smell. What use this burden of knowledge and virtues if my mother cannot prosper from it? I miss the love of the mango tree, the flowers in my garden back home, the blossoming creepers and the blooming rose. I feel desolate. O ocean, I am pining for her. Take me back to my motherland. O ocean, I am pining for her." In cellular jail, Savarkar wrote another poem, Jayastute, Victory to You, which too has been made popular by Hridaynath's music. The song is a sort of national song in Marathi, similar to Vande Mataram. The listener is bound to have his hair stand on end as the beats and the words propels one to get enveloped in its beauty. Savarkar sings pains to the goddess of freedom. Victory to you, O auspicious one, the munificent and holy. O goddess of freedom, I seek your blessings for success. You are the embodiment of our national spirit, our morality, and our accomplishments. O glorious goddess of freedom, you are the queen of righteousness. In the dark skies of enslavement, O goddess of freedom, you are the shining star of hope, whether on flowers as soft as cheeks or on cheeks as soft as flowers. O goddess of freedom, you are that blush of confidence. You are the radiance of the sun, the majesty of the ocean. O goddess of freedom, but for you the sun of freedom is eclipsed. O goddess of freedom, you are the face of eternal happiness and liberation. That is why the scriptures hail you as the supreme soul. All that is ideal, magnificent and sweet, O goddess of freedom, is associated with you. You are the destroyer of evil, stained with their blood, O goddess of freedom. Life is to die for you. Death is to live without you. All creation surrenders unto you. Victory to you, O auspicious one, the munificent and holy. O goddess of freedom, I seek you blessings for success. A stanza of another poem written by Savarkar. Let me see my God in his temple. Let my eyes have their fill for him. My hands have been defiled, cleaning filth day and night. To cleanse them in the pure heart, allow me, I pray. On his deathbed, Savarkar welcomes death, saying, Come, death, come. Having set forth to get me, come gladly. Let these flowers fear to wither and die. Let these juicy grapes dread to shrivel and die. But me, why pray should I fear you? It is a sad reality that India today has forgotten Veer Savarkar. It is time we honored his contribution, but whether the government does anything or not, his lasting legacy in form of some of his poems will continue to touch and inspire generations to come.